Ms. Wilson, your son died tragically just 1 month ago.
Yes, ma'am.
You say that since then, a flood of women have come forward with claims that he fathered their children. But you believe they are trying to pin their children on your son in an effort to get Social Security benefits. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Felix and Ms. Brown, you both state that you are 100% sure that Mrs. Wilson's deceased son, Mr. Marquette Dames, is the biological father of your children and are fully entitled to survivor's benefits. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Mrs. Wilson, tell us what happened.
Well, he got gunned down on July 6th. So it's really hard for me because all I do is cry.
Yes.
All I do is cry. When they took him, they took a part of me too. They ripped my heart out. I just buried him July 30th, you know, and it's not easy for me as a mom losing a son, and I just want to know who's his kids, who's not his kids, because everybody's talking about they got kids, and I only want to know so I can have closure for myself.
How many women?
It's 11 people. We're talking 11 kids here. So
oh my goodness,
it's not just these two young ladies, you know. It's other women that's like literally inboxing me.
How old is your child?
My child is 2.
And Ms. Felix, how old is your child?
3.
All right, I want to start with you. And I want to understand the circumstances surrounding your child.
Yes, ma'am.
And was Marquette a part of your child's life?
Yes, he was a complete part of her life. He was there when I was pregnant. He made sure I was doing right while I was pregnant. He was the one providing me the food. He went to every doctor's appointment. He was there throughout the whole thing. She also knew about it. She used to come to my house. We used to play cards, you know, and hang out. So we were in a serious relationship, and she knows it.
So are you wondering now why she's questioning the paternity?
Yes, I am. I am very much wondering because I don't understand why someone would do all the things you did for my daughter and then be questioning her paternity.
What kind of things did she do?
Like, she was in our wedding. She helped me name my daughter. She was there when I had my daughter. She was there through the whole entire thing. And I had no clue at all that she had questions or doubts about her at all. Not at all. So, like...
What would you like to add, Ms. Wilson?
First of all, my son confided in me, and I promised my son I wouldn't say anything. Before my son died, we was talking for the past 6 months before he passed away. He had doubt about several kids. Her baby was one. Darielle baby was the next one. So he told me not to say anything to anybody about it, so I kept it a secret between him and I.
Understood.
I held my son's body for over 2 weeks. It took 24 days for me to put my son in the ground. I saved my son just for you guys to get DNA from him so that we could find out who's kin, who's not. That's not easy.
And you had to do all of this. You had to wait this amount of time because you were committed to allowing the coroner to have the opportunity to collect the DNA so that you could get these tests done.
Right.
So you could pretty much answer the questions that your son confided in you.
Right. These two right here, before he even got buried in the ground, called the Social Security office to get claims. He wasn't even in the ground. Funeral arrangements wasn't even ready. They wasn't even put in place. And these two did that. I didn't hold it against him. I didn't hold it against him at all. Because guess what? At the end of the day, this is my child. It ain't their child. They didn't care about my grief at that present time. They didn't care because it was all about the money to them. It's not all about him.
First off, I had no clue. You were supposed to wait till someone was buried to get Social Security, okay? I didn't know you had to wait. And he was paying child support for my baby anyway, okay? So, and the fact that it upsets her, I'm wondering, why does it upset you so much if I went down there anyway? Like, are you gonna get it if I don't claim it? Are you worried about them not getting the money? Like, what is your problem? I don't understand.
They don't love him like we do, because if you loved him, you'd at least wait to see he got buried in the ground before you went down there to do all that. Okay. That's a fact.
Okay. And so, what exactly did he say about Miss Felix's child?
He said that the reason why he had doubt because he was gone away for 4 or 5 months, and when he got back, she said she was 3 months pregnant. That's what he told me. But I never said anything. I just
He wanted you to keep that a secret. It was between you.
me and him. And I said, well, I tell you what, since you feel like that, why don't we just do DNA testing on all of them?
I don't believe he told her that. She just started doubting him after his death.
I got a witness.
All this came about after he passed away.
No,
all of this.
I got a witness.
That's true.
All of this came about after he passed.
I'd like to hear from your witness, ma'am.
I got a witness
Please
right
stand.
there he told her the same thing and her mama, so.
State your name for the court, ma'am.
Charnel Turner,
And Ms. Turner, you are
his cousin.
Mr. Dames' cousin.
Yes.
What do you know about this?
When Marquette came, he stayed with me for about a month. He was like, hey, Nellie, guess what? I'm having another baby. So I was like, oh, you're having another baby? He's like, yeah, but he's like, I don't know if it's mine or not. So I was like, what do you mean? He was like, because I was gone for like 6 months, and he was like, she told me that she was pregnant, but he's like, I also know that she cheated on me.
If you want more episodes of Paternity Court, make sure to subscribe and click on the notification bell.
I didn't hear anything about any doubt until this vigil happened. And I highly doubt that he actually told them that, you know, but even though, you know, on the obituary that they did, you know, they completely changed all the kids' names on the obituary.
I'd like to see that.
Yes.
This is evidence
you gave
that
them all different names, but I don't believe there was any doubt until that boy passed away. I don't believe he told them that because me and Marquette were friends, and he could have told me that if he actually felt that way, and he knows that. I don't believe he told them that.
Excuse me?
I think she's doubting him. I think she's doubting my baby, all because of the money.
We don't went to the social
honestly.
security.
And
That's
so
what it did.
this evidence that you presented to the court, it's the obituary for Marquette Antoine Dames, and it says, Marquette leaves to cherish his memory, loving and devoted mothers, Elizabeth Simon Wilson, 6 children, Marquila Felix, Josiah Brown.
Right. And his name is Josiah Dames.
And her name is Marquila Dames.
Excuse me. They don't know what they're talking about because I wasn't the one that wrote it. And I was the one that said not to put them names in there because you don't know who can, who not can. And from what I was told, her baby name was Felix. And from what I was told, her baby wasn't even her last name. It was another man.
Not Elizabeth. You lying.
No, I'm
lying.
Oh, I'm lying?
You are.
Oh, I'm lying? You got that baby calling somebody else daddy.
Lady.
All that.
I don't like you anyway. You know
don't
that
have
I don't
to
like
me.
you. Because
Lady, you're not
Learn some respect.
Let's
Look,
get some
girl.
order. Miss Brown, have a seat. Have a seat. Have a seat.
I'm a very emotional person right now. I have not grieved my son since he died because guess what? I'm trying to deal with other stuff. I just want to know who can, who not. I don't need all that extra activity. I don't need all that extra curriculum. My son gone. They got their kids. Okay, I'm missing a child. That's wrong, you know what I'm saying? I'm just only trying to find out the truth.
Miss Felix, does Marquila know her daddy's missing? She's used to seeing him. Has she asked for him?
Every day.
And have you found a way, or have you even told her yet, or are you just still saying he's not here?
I talk to her, I show her pictures, I tell her, you know, he's in her heart, you know, but that you can't see daddy.
When it got to Darielle baby, I never took part of Darielle baby since day one. And when she brought that kid to my house, I told her that baby looks just like her. He doesn't look like my son. Those were the words I told her out my own mouth. I never had any parts with that baby, period. So, you know, and I told my son that she would be the last birth certificate that he ever signed, because if he signed another one, we won't have a serious problem, because you're going around signing your name on these birth certificates and you don't know if these kids are yours, and you could be signing your life away and then it be somebody else's child.
Okay, understood. Ms. Brown, I'd like you to stand now because I would like to talk about Josiah.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so I'd like to hear from you. The relationship that Marquette had with your child.
Okay, Marquette, he came to me about me being pregnant, actually. We were staying with one of his family members at the time.
And were you in a relationship with him?
I was in a relationship with him. We moved pretty quickly, but we indeed were in a relationship. He claimed it and I claimed it. So we moved forward. Like I said, he came to me about me being pregnant. So with the bug being planted in my ear, I went ahead, set the appointment. Him and his family member took me to the appointment. Found out that I was pregnant. I found out I was pregnant July 15th. He took and rolled with it. He never questioned, never doubted. When he didn't quite come to the doctor's appointments because, you know, he was living his life, doing his own thing. During the time, you know, around that time too, we had them broken apart. So, but he always kept in check, always made, you know, sure to check up on me. When I told him I was getting ready to go into labor, he was there within 10 minutes after I came to the hospital, and he stayed the entire time.
Did he sign the birth certificate for Josiah? He did.
He did.
And Josiah has his last name as well.
He does. Marquette has never questioned Josiah from the moment I told him I was pregnant.
And Josiah is 2.
He is 2.
Were you receiving child support as well?
Nope.
You were not?
We're not.
And what relationship did Josiah have with Ms. Wilson and her family?
None. I actually brought him to see her a few times. She always acted uninterested. So after a while, I just stopped bringing him around.
Ms. Wilson, why did you act like you weren't interested? Why did you doubt Josiah?
Because I just felt like Josiah wasn't his, personally.
When you looked at the child?
When I looked at him, he had nothing of my son. I said it ain't his, and I told him that day one, when I seen that baby, that they didn't have no resemblance at all.
And she has him calling another man daddy.
I do. I'm not doubting that at all.
And why is that?
Because Marquette was in the streets. Now, my son, he do acknowledge somebody else as his father.
Is that someone you're in a relationship with?
No, but he does help me out. He helped me out, make sure he eat. He watches him while I go to work. He makes sure he goes to school.
And your son now has started to call him daddy.
Right.
But doesn't that create confusion for the child and for the family you want to accept the child?
No, they never wanted to be a part until he was dead, like she stated.
She has had other men in her life. She stayed with me. She stayed with my sister. She's had other men in her life.
Okay, now I'm getting, because I could not understand.
A family friend came over and told me and my husband of how he was dealing with her and how other men was dealing with her. And one day, I followed her myself and watched her get in and out of this van, the same person that she was dealing with before she dealt with my son. So that's why I don't believe that.
And it's the same person I'm dealing with now, so what's your point?
Person.
It's the same
That's
person.
the daddy.
What's the point?
Daddy.
If that was the daddy, it would look like him. Girl, you just want to bring up
that baby looks
points.
like you.
Right, before we, listen, before we go,
Thank you.
Before we go in the wrong direction, what would you like to add, Ms. Turner?
If the results come back, if they are, then, I mean, we just want to know. That's all that we have left.
Yeah.
I mean,
Ms. Wilson, what are you hoping for?
I hope that they are his, you know, because that will give me some closure. At least I know that what he left behind, so I could be able to take up the slack that he's not able to take care of.
All right.
That was the purpose of it.
Well,
not for
we
all
are
that
here
stuff.
to get answers,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
I have those answers for
Thank you.
Ms. Felix, I will read the results for Marquila first. Ms. Brown, you may have a seat.
All right.
These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. In the case of Wilson versus Felix Brown, when it comes to 3-year-old Marquila Dames, it has been determined by this court, Mr. Dames is the father.
Sorry about that, Luda. So I will be a part of her life. All right.
Ms. Brown, please stand. In the case of Wilson versus Felix Brown, when it comes to 2-year-old Josiah Dames, it has been determined by this court, Mr. Dames is the father. You all are still processing the fact that your children will grow up without knowing their dad.
That's right. It's true. Okay, I'm sorry if you felt like I did anything for her, but I love you regardless. We still gonna keep our relationship.
I don't want no hug from you.
And
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't want no hug.
See, that's
from
exactly
you.
why I don't like you, because you nasty.
You don't have
Listen.
to like me.
That's exactly why I
You
don't
don't
like
have
her,
to
because
like
she
me.
nasty.
Listen.
That's exactly why I don't like you.
You don't got
Your
to.
attitude stinks. And when you
Listen.
learn to respect adults, you'll be a better woman.
Ladies, in this moment, Ms. Brown was not ready.
She ain't gonna never be ready.
And listen, I hope for Josiah's sake, you will come around. And I think, Ms. Felix and Ms. Brown, as you think about the love you have for your child, when you look at that child, I think if you think about what Ms. Wilson has gone through, the thought, if you could just picture in your mind how you would feel one day if that child was not there and you could not lay hands on that child, talk to that child. It's an unthinkable pain. And so maybe with time you can give her a little bit of understanding and maybe forgiveness. Ms. Lassio, you say before this court gave you a date to appear to resolve your paternity dispute, your relationship with the defendant was on the brink of ending. You're here to prove that he is the father of your 7-month-old daughter, Aubrey, and are hoping to save your family. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Abbott, you say you are devastated the plaintiff has put your family's future in jeopardy and state you plan to leave her if the DNA results prove you are not Aubrey's biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Ms. Lassio, what is the state of your relationship exactly?
I'm here today to save our family. I'm here today to show Jacob that he is the father of our 7-month-old daughter, Aubrey, that I have made a mistake, but I know he is the father of Aubrey. Our relationship has been very bumpy. Jacob has no trust in me at all. He has a tracker on my phone.
And you say the day this court called you,
Yes, the day...
he was moving.
Yes. The day that I got the call from the courtroom, he was moving out. He had packed his stuff. He was ready to be out of the door.
I was out the door, Your Honor. I had everything packed in my truck. I was ready to go. This courtroom, calling her, has actually saved us as of right now. And I need the results of this paternity today to find out if Aubrey is my daughter. Because if she's not, I'm gone. I am gone.
I want to understand, Mr. Abbott, your doubt. Why are you doubtful?
Lacey told me she was pregnant, and we were very excited. I told family members. You know, we went to a paternity place to find out if she was actually pregnant after we had taken an at-home test, and they had told her she was, and her family members started buying her maternity clothes and so forth, and she had like a guilty conscience, and that's when she told me she had messed up and she had slept with the other dude, that this could possibly not be my child. And I asked her, what do you mean? She told me that I could only be the possibility, but right when she got her first ultrasound, she found out the conception date, and it was Easter, and she slept with him and me that Easter weekend.
All right. So, Ms. Lassio, how did you end up with another man? You say you made a mistake, but how?
Jacob and I had just recently gotten back together. We were on like a little break, and we were supposed to have like this great Easter weekend and go camping and everything. And I don't remember why we were fighting, but we were in an argument. So, and I was hanging out with one of my friends, and I reached out to another guy. And whenever I reached out to him, we ended up hooking up. We hooked up one time, and then I was back together with Jake.
And when you say hooked up, that means you had sex.
Yes.
Did you use protection?
No, we did not.
Who is this guy?
He was just someone from my past, nobody special or anything. It's more like, I feel like I more contacted him to like shove it in his face, like, oh, I have my own place and a car now, and like I'm doing so good. That's more of the reason, like, why I even contacted him, was more to shove it in his face, like, I'm doing so good now, and you're still doing nothing with your life.
Your Honor, she also cheated on me with him a year ago, and kept it a secret. And thankfully for my friend telling me, If he would have never told me, I still wouldn't know to this day. She sat there and lied to me the whole time, saying she didn't do anything. There's nothing to worry about. I wouldn't do this to us. And I sat there and I did my little investigation for a few hours after she went to bed on her phone, found a fake Facebook, got into it, and found out everything. And that's when I woke her up and said, "You gonna sit here and deny it now when I have the proof?" So throughout this whole time, she's really given me no reason to believe her, because I felt I was completely fooled. That's why we're here today. I want to know if Aubrey's my girl.
And I want to understand this. You say a year ago she cheated with the same guy?
Same.
So I thought you said you only slept with him just the one time.
I slept with him a year prior to that, and that was the first time that I had cheated on Jake with him. And since that point, I denied it and everything at first. I didn't think he could find evidence, and I figured it wasn't worth losing my family over. That was like a mistake that I made, and I wasn't going to admit to it. I wasn't going to lose my family over one horrible choice that I made. And after that, Jacob started with always thinking I was cheating, always thinking I was up to no good, always just automatically assuming like, oh, if you're here, what are you doing here? Oh, it's GPS on your phone says you're here, because he's always had a GPS tracker on my phone. And there's been times with the GPS, I've been asleep in bed and he's been up checking it, and the GPS will say, I'm down the street when I've been in bed sleeping. So how are you gonna believe a GPS if I've been in bed sleeping and it says I'm down the street? If it's done it once, how am I gonna say, I don't know why it says I'm over there? If it's messed up once, it's very possible it's messed up several times. So
after you cheated and you came clean and you told him, he had this tracker on your phone and he would never believe anything you say?
Correct.
Did you sleep with this man more than one time or just the one time?
Just the one time a year ago, and then just the one time at the conception date. So more than one time.
Okay, that's what I was hearing. So I want to understand these dates. Let me go to my calendar. The doctor told you your conception date was when?
Easter weekend.
Easter weekend, so that's April.
It was in between like April 16th through April 23rd.
All right, so April 16th through the 23rd is the window of conception.
Yes.
All right, now, when were you intimate with Mr. Abbott?
I was intimate with Mr. Abbott before the window of conception and on the 20th, and then after as well.
Okay, so during the window of conception on the 20th, you were intimate with Mr. Abbott.
Yes.
Now, when were you intimate with this other guy that you say you made the one-time mistake, which is really two times?
On April 18th, Your Honor.
April 18th. So this is the other guy.
Yes, Your Honor.
So very clearly, both men fall in the window of conception.
Yes, Your Honor.
2 days apart. Why are you so certain Aubrey is Mr. Abbott's biological child? How can you be that certain?
I know she's his. I know there's no possible way that she is the other guy's.
But
I know
conception, you know conception does not require intention.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yes.
There's nowhere in the biology book that says intention is a prerequisite for conception. How do you know that this other man is not your baby's father?
The way that Jake is with her, I believe that's only something a father and daughter can have. I know there's step-parents out there that have great relationships with their children, but the bond that they have together, when he walks in the room, the way that she crawls after him first, the way that she'll throw a fit until her dad will look down at her and pick her up, that's not something a step-parent or anyone in the world can have. That's only a father and daughter relationship. That's their bond. Jake is her dad.
And do you feel this connection too, Mr. Abbott?
I do. Family says she looks a lot like me, but with the conception date and her doing that was so close, I can't be certain.
And so Aubrey's 7 months old.
Yes, Your Honor.
Up until this time, you've maintained a positive, healthy relationship with her, even though you're doubtful?
Yes, Your Honor. I've been there the whole time throughout her pregnancy. I mean, look at her right there. I love this girl. She is my daughter. I just need the answers to be sure so we can move forward past this.
And so you're an involved father?
Very involved. I feed her, I change her diapers, I'm there. Every minute I'm not at work, I'm there with Aubrey and the rest of our family.
And with our son as well.
And you have an older son.
Yes.
That's not Mr. Abbott's biological child.
No, he is not Mr. Abbott's biological child.
But he's a father to him as well.
Yes, my son knows Mr. Abbott as dad. He made the choice to call him dad, and Jake allowed him to do so. From the time he was 3 years old, Jake has been there to be his father, to be his role model, to help out with schoolwork, to take him to the park, to show him, different ways to handle situations with friends and growing up and just being a boy. Jake is always there to help him in any way that he needs.
And so your intention to leave the family, if in fact Aubrey's not your biological child, will most certainly affect this young man as well.
Right, and
So a lot is at stake.
very much so, yes.
Were you at the hospital when the baby was born?
I was.
You were.
I was.
Did you go to doctor's appointments?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you participated?
Yes, Your Honor.
And when you were at the hospital, did you sign the birth certificate?
No, I did not sign the birth certificate. And
You did not.
No, I did not, and that was a very awkward moment because I wasn't sure if Aubrey was mine, and by then we had all known that she had slept with the other guy again. And it was kind of her choice until we got paternity for me to sign the birth certificate.
It was her choice that she wanted you to.
And she didn't necessarily want me to. She wanted to make sure that I was the father before I signed it.
And so was his family at the birth, Ms. Lassio?
Yes.
And they were aware that you told him not to sign the birth certificate?
Yes, they were, Your Honor.
And when they saw the baby, what was their reaction?
That she looks just like Jake, that she was a spitting image of her dad. It was just hard. I didn't want him to sign his name on the birth certificate if he wasn't because of my bad choice. I feel it's best that we need DNA. We need it done so we can move on with our family. But that's what we need. I can't have him sign his name when someone else could be responsible. And I didn't want to mess up his life by having him put his name on a birth certificate. If she wasn't his, that wouldn't be fair to him and it wouldn't be fair to her.
You're right. You're right. Did you ever tell this other man that he potentially could be the father?
Yes.
And ask if he wanted to be a part of her life?
Yes, Your Honor, I did. I contacted him through Facebook, and he wanted nothing to do with it at all whatsoever. He told me, have an abortion, it's not mine, I can't have kids. I heard every excuse from him, and he was just a loser.
Wow. That's unfortunate.
Our relationship is crumbling at this point, Your Honor. I know Jacob is a father, and I know with these results, our family can move forward and we can be a family and we can go on and get married and do everything that we wanted to do together with our family.
And so, Mr. Abbott, do you regret that choice, not signing the birth certificate, or you believe it was the right thing to do?
I believe at the time it was the right thing to do. Now, I wish I would have signed it.
Why do you say that? When you stand here saying you have doubts and you have your truck packed up, you're ready to leave your family because of this?
Everyone says she's mine, but it comes down to the conception date again. My mom family says she's an Abbott. She says they look just like me when I was a baby. I mean, look at her.
She's beautiful.
Thank you.
But I can see in your eyes that you really don't know.
I don't, and I'm here today to find out, Your Honor.
And so are you certain that there is no chance that this relationship can withstand this if, in fact, you are not Aubrey's biological father?
If Aubrey is not mine, Your Honor, I'm gone. There's no more. It's a wrap. it's done. It's over.
These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. In the case of Lassio versus Abbott, as it pertains to 7-month-old Aubrey Ann Lassio, it has been determined by this court, Mr. Abbott, you are not her father. I'm so sorry.
It's over.
Mr. Abbott, even given the bond you've already developed with Aubrey and Ms. Lassio's other child, can you really just walk away?
I don't know. That's why I didn't walk away the first time. It's because of our other son. And I grew up in a broken home, and I don't want that.
It's obvious you love the children. And you love Ms. Lassio.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. There's nothing I can say to fix it. I love you and the kids love you. Even if it's not biological, you couldn't be any closer to them than anyone else in the world.
Aubrey is innocent, and she's come to love you, I'm sure, and count on you. You have to consider all those things. At the end of the day, it truly is your choice. But if I am reading your emotion and your intention, I think you love them all enough to strongly consider it before you make a decision.
Yes.
And Ms. Lassio, that's all you can ask. Mr. Wheat, you filed your case because you claim you've been robbed as a father. You are desperate to prove to the defendant that you fathered her 19-year-old daughter, Sierra Sloan, and once you do, you want to make up for lost time. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Grider, you say, as much as you would like the plaintiff to be your daughter's biological father, facts are facts, and he isn't her dad. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Sloan, you say you are the victim in this paternity chaos and deserve to know who your dad is. Is
Yes,
that
Your
correct?
Honor.
So, Mr. Wheat, you testify that you were robbed as a father. Explain.
Yes, Your Honor. I believe she is mine. So I want her to make up for all the lost time so she can meet her sisters.
And so what does it feel like knowing that you may have missed 19 years of your daughter's life?
It's hurtful, very hurtful.
Do you think about all of the times of her life you've missed, the important moments?
Yes, Your Honor.
Explain.
School, trips, being a family, that I missed out on.
All right. Ms. Grider, so you say, unfortunately, as much as you would like your daughter to be Mr. Wheat's biological child, you just say she is not.
Right.
Explain to the court why you are so certain.
Because I was 19, I was young, dumb, and full of eggs, and I was doing me.
Young, dumb, and full of eggs and doing me. I don't think I've ever heard it explained like that. Okay. And so, Mr. Wheat, tell me the nature of your relationship with Ms. Grider. How did you meet? How did the relationship begin? Tell the court.
I met her back when I was in high school. Well, we lost contact for a little while, and then I ran into her at a club called Texas Nightlife, and kind of had a one-night stand. And I don't know how many more months later, I found out she was pregnant. Her friend of hers come up to me and says, "How does it feel that you're about to be a dad?"
Really?
What?
And so did you confront Ms. Grider?
Yes. Well, didn't confront her. We talked about it. She goes, "Yes, there is a possibility that you are her father."
So, Ms. Grider, that's different from your testimony earlier. Do you remember that conversation?
Yes, Your Honor.
So why did that change for you?
Because she started to get darker and everything, and
So how many guys were you with during the window of time your daughter was conceived?
4.
4 different guys. And Mr. Wheat is one of them.
Yes.
So can you tell the court, how is it you were with these guys?
One of them was my boyfriend. He was living with me at the time, and he went away. And then Mac had moved in with me. I met him through a mutual friend of all of ours. And yes, we were sleeping together. And then I went out to Texas Nightlife and saw David and had a one-night stand with him at that time.
And then who's the 4th?
It's just somebody I knew from Texas Nightlife.
You better stay out that Texas nightlife. Lot going on in there.
Oh, God.
So take me back to the moment you found out you were pregnant.
I confronted Mac and David and told all of them, all
So
4 of them.
You
really.
told them all.
Yes.
Listen, I'm pregnant and
You could possibly be the father. Yes, I've told all 4 of them.
All right, so in the beginning, you did tell Mr. Wheat you could be my daughter's biological father, my child's
Yes.
biological father. So, Mr. Wheat, take me back to that moment when she told you that.
I was pretty much in shock at the time. You know, I didn't process it yet.
And so, but wait, I mean, at the point that she tells you you could possibly be the father, you now stand in court and say you were robbed. I'm trying to figure out what happened in between that point and this point, how you got robbed. Did she rob you? Did you rob yourself? Did the circumstance rob you? You said you were robbed.
I seen her when Sierra was 4 months old, and that was the last time I saw her.
So take me, Ms. Grider, to the day Sierra was born.
Yes, Your Honor.
Who was with you when she was born?
Mac Grider.
Ah, now I get it. So the man you were with went through the process with you.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Mr. Wheat, it kind of left you as odd man out because she was with this guy. You were just the one-night stand. And even though you knew you were a possibility, you didn't feel like you really had any standing.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Did she even tell you she was going into labor?
She called me that day and told me, and I told her I'll come up there in a little bit, okay? Well, my family went up there. I called her back, said, hey, I'm on my way. She told me not to bother. So I just...
Oh, now I get where the robbery's coming. It took me a while to get here. So you were saying, I'm gonna come, and you sent your family before you could get there.
Yes, Your Honor.
But by the time you say you're on your way, she says, don't bother.
Right,
Why'd you say don't bother? Because Mr. Grider was there?
I don't think, Your Honor, I don't think that I said that. I think that they, Mac and one of our mutual friends had pushed him away from being there at that time. That's what I was told, because I really don't remember. All I remember is having her and then him
you
being
had
there.
other things going on there.
Yeah. Right.
And so, Mr. Wheat, your family was there. Ms. Grider testified that they went to go see Sierra in the nursery. What was their response?
Well, when they came back to my house, all of them said, congratulations, you're a dad. All right, well, I didn't believe them. My mom came in and asked me if I wanted to see what my daughter looked like. Well, she handed me a baby picture of me when I was born. And she goes, there you go.
Wow.
I couldn't give up on that one.
Well, yeah, the mother's intuition is a powerful thing.
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
I mean, I think if we go statistically based on the mothers might be about 80% in this courtroom when the mom says that's our baby. So that really affected you. You believed your mom. Like, this baby looks just like you.
Yes.
So what happens next, Ms. Grider? Who signs the birth certificate? Does anybody sign the birth certificate?
Yes, Your Honor. Mac Grider did. And it's been on and off drama for 19 years, so.
Well, Mac Grider is here, and he believes he could be Sierra's father. Jerome, will you please escort Mr. Grider into the courtroom?
Yes.
Sit down.
I'm gonna go to the witness stand up here.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for joining us today, Mr. Grider.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a couple questions for you related to Sierra's paternity.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to know first, what was your relationship with the defendant?
She is my ex-wife.
She's your ex-wife. All right. So do you think you are Sierra's, Miss Sloan's biological father?
There is a possibility. Me and Charlene were sleeping together and staying in the same house. And we used to having sex more than another guy.
So were you there throughout her pregnancy and birth?
Yes, ma'am. I was there, went to the doctor appointments. I named her, I signed the birth certificate.
And Sierra, I see your face. This must be so confusing, honey. What are you feeling in this moment? Can you tell the court?
Upset that I never knew who my real dad was.
And when you say you never knew,
Never.
you were always told that it was uncertain?
I've had a father figure throughout the years, and he's watched me grow up and just never really knew who my dad was.
Oh, okay. So can you tell the court, what did your mom tell you?
Well, I think when I was 15, my mom said that I look like David because apparently me and him have the freckle line. And then I would sit there and smile sometimes the way he did and lay down the way he did and everything. So she kept on telling me that these could be the possibilities, and I just had to live with it until today. I'm trying to figure out who my dad is.
Understood. So when Sierra was born, you were there?
Yes, ma'am. I was in the doctor.
Signed the birth certificate?
Yes, ma'am.
You named her?
Yes, ma'am. After a Chevy truck.
See, that wasn't me.
Still a beautiful name, Sierra. So, Mr. Weed, I see your emotion here. I see your face, because as I talk about all of these memories and naming her and all of this, this is now, it's reinforcing that feeling that you feel like you've missed out.
Yes, Your Honor.
Can you tell Sierra what your plans are? If it is determined today that you are her biological father, what are your plans?
To get to know her. Get to know who you really are, so you can get to know who I really am.
How does it feel to hear that, Sierra? That he wants to get to know you and have a relationship with you and be a dad to you?
It feels good, but I'm just trying to figure it out. If he is my dad, it's just a lot to deal with. But it would be nice if he was, or if Mac was still. I would like to get to know him better too.
And so, Mr. Grider, why do you feel emotional?
Just a lot. It's just a lot right now, going through all this.
Is it hard to see her cry?
Yes, yes, ma'am. It's breaking her heart.
Well, I think I've heard sufficient testimony, and I think the only way we can move forward is to get the results. Jerome?
Oh, God.
These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. The first result is for Mr. Grider. In the case of Wheat versus Grider Sloan, when it comes to 19-year-old Sierra Sloan, it has been determined by this court, Mr. Grider, you are not the father. I'm very sorry, Mr. Grider.
I still love her no matter what.
We're all still a happy family. And it's just hurting her because she loves him, but she thought there could be a possibility.
Of course she did. And I saw you, Mr. Wheat, because once I said Mr. Grider was not the biological father, I think the weight even became heavier for you that, well, if he's not, that's even more probability that I could be. Well, let's get the results. In the case of Wheat versus Grider Sloan, when it comes to 19-year-old Sierra Sloan, it has been determined by this court. Mr. Wheat, you are not the father. I'm very sorry, Sierra. I'm very sorry. I know this is not what we expected to hear today. Mr. Wheat, are you all right? Ms. Grider, I need to ask you, because your daughter is standing here trying to be as strong as possible, and this was devastating news for her, I know.
It's devastating for me.
Yes.
And her. Both.
Do you know where the other two men who are the possibilities are?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good, good. Sierra, this is not over. I want you to understand, listen, we're still here to help you, honey, okay?